Hey everyone, Joe here from Action Check. Welcome to Let Joe Talk, or welcome back. Hope everyone's doing safe out there. Hope everyone's being good to each other, being well, that sort of thing. I am mentally exhausted. I'm recording this in a week where it's been a very hectic week at my personal job. That's a story for another time on another podcast, on another show. This week, we're talking about recasting in movies and TV shows. And I kind of touched upon this in the if you should still watch stuff after actors or directors been or a celebrity's been outed episode of the show. I talked about this briefly. This is kind of like more prevalent in my mind in recent developments with the anticipants of this topic was because of the recent Batwoman announcement that Kate Kane would be recast with a actress that was from Krypton, who also campaigned for the role shortly after Ruby Rose departed from the role. And I had a lot of feelings on that one. Not on the actress. I think the actress is a really good actress. I've seen her on Krypton for 2 seasons. I think she could do the job well. I have not yet seen those episodes or how they're going to pan out, so I do not know how our performance is going to go, but I have faith that she will perform a really great Kate Kane and a really great Batwoman and will continue on what Ruby Rose started. But that's kind of like where I want to talk about it a little bit. We're going to bring up a lot of examples. We're going to talk about this a little bit. Now, when it comes to recasting, there's a multitude of reasons why people are recast. Normally it's sadly someone passes away and then they have to continue the story, so they would end up just getting a new actor or actress to take over the role. Sometimes, someone just leaves the show and then they have to either get a new face on it or try to somehow haphazardly make a bullshit excuse for them to leave, and then the story just kind of forgets about it. And sometimes, some of the times it works out. Most of the time it just doesn't work out. It's just very difficult and jarring to kind of figure that out. I think in my worlds right now, the biggest 2 examples are the Kate Kane recasting for Batwoman, and on the movie set is going to be the upcoming Grindelwald recasting with Johnny Depp to Mads Mikkelsen. Now, again, I've said this before on the other episode. I fully support Mads Mikkelsen as Grindelwald. I think he's a phenomenal actor. I've loved him in so many stuff. I wish I could see more stuff of his. I just haven't had time to see everything he's done. But he's a phenomenal actor, and I think he's going to do an amazing job as Grindelwald. However, I love Johnny Depp. He did such a great Grindelwald. He was one of the most underrated parts of the Fantastic Beasts series thus far. I really wish he would have gotten to continue his role as that, but powers that be, things like this happen. We're just gonna have to accept it, because right now I think they're done filming Fantastic Beasts 3, so there's nothing more we can do right now. The film's done. But my main issue with recasting is that just they have to be very selective of how they talk about this. Because another thing when it comes to recasting, it comes down to wording, and then the behind-the-scenes conversations about it, and then any official statements that go out to the fans, to the public, to the people who generally are fans of whatever product you're involved with that has a recasting involved. When it comes to Batwoman, the thing that I had a lot of feelings on about this wasn't because of the actress, was because of the behind-the-scenes conversations about it. Because if you're unaware, when Batwoman season 1 ended because of the pandemic, it ended early, and we were all expecting season 2 to come out at some point later on in the year, and then the whole Ruby Rose thing happened, and then people were just debating who's going to take over the role. And then at the time, the showrunner Carolyn Dyers talked that, hey, we're not replacing Kate Kane, we're not killing her off. What Ruby Rose has done with the role was great. We're gonna continue to honor that, and we will continue the mantle of Batwoman with a new character in Ryan Wilder. And so far, the actress Javice Leslie has done a fantastic job with the role. I'm not quite too thrilled in the story at time, but I think she's doing the best she can with what she's worked with. I can't wait to see her continue that role in season 3. But the issue that I have with the thing is that at the time, I talked about this with George many times leading up to Batwoman. He never believed the show was going to come back because of how troubled the behind-the-scenes stuff was going into season 2. I said, no, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. They invested way too much, because Batwoman was never a strong performer in live ratings, from what I'm aware of. From what I read, it is strong in DVRs. But when it comes to that, had CW been a regular, a normal, typical, television channel, they probably would have canceled it. Probably could have. They didn't. They powered through. They put all the resources to basically rewrite whatever was planned for the end of season 1 to season 2 to fit Ryan's character in there and have this whole mystery that, okay, Kate is gone. And for a long time, like, I believed, like, well, if Kate's gone and, you know, they're still keeping her alive, eventually they're going to have to find some way to bring her back. And I always talked about, like, with George, like, how are they going to do it? Because, you know, they set up Kate to be, like, a paragon, like, a important piece of the puzzle when it comes to the new Justice League in the Arrowverse with the Flash, Supergirl, Black Lightning, Martian Manhunter, White Canary, etc. They had this whole big role planned out for her, and then she left. Obviously, you can't just insert Ryan in there, just like have her take over, because she's not the Paragon. She didn't really fight alongside them in Crisis, so it's like that doesn't make sense. So you're gonna have to bring her back at some point. And my theory was that you only bring back Ruby Rose for the crossovers. Like, there'll be 2 separate Batwomans. Like, there's a Batwoman for the big stuff, for the Justice League stuff, you know, to do the big things. And then there's the Batwoman who's going to stay in Gotham. Maybe occasionally she'll come over and help out the new girl. That was my idea. And even literally the week before the whole recasting news came out, they announced, and Ruby Rose said that she would be perfectly comfortable returning to the role if they need her. And I was like, that's a great sign. This could support my theory. This could be great for the long run, because eventually they're going to have to explain, okay, Kate is alive, but we need to see her and she needs to talk. You can't really, like, just do the whole, you know, background, like, it almost looks like her, it's like it's her, and then something happens that kind of cuts off the actual conversation or something like that. But however, then they announced the whole recasting. So my thought process is, why didn't you do this at the start? Now, again, this is not to offend Javice Leslie and the character of Ryan Reynolds. This is not meant to insult them, but I'm just saying, if you really think about it, why would they say we're not going to replace Ruby Rose, and then halfway through season 2 they replace Ruby Rose? How do you explain that? It would have been so easy. So easy, like, you didn't have to rewrite anything. You didn't have to, like, basically start over with certain characters. You didn't have to abandon certain plot line. You could have literally just inserted, I said inserted in a wrong way. You could have just done the recasting with the new actress and just continued the story. You could have just done that. It was literally that simple. Now, I understand, creating Ryan was like, gives Javice Leslie a chance to, like, give her own spin on Batwoman and, like, introduce a new character to the larger DC comic. I get that. I understand that. I'm just saying, like, in terms of a logistical thing, like, why would you backtrack what you said? Because you literally said we're not going to... Now, they still say what Ruby did was phenomenal, but this is going to be a slightly altered version of Kate Kane. A more... I think, I haven't seen the new episodes yet when this is coming out. I don't know what they're going to do with the character, but in terms of my speaking, it's just so weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it would have just been so easier just to, like, do the recast from the start. I don't know, because, like, they said, like, okay, Ryan's is our new Batwoman. She's going to stay like that. But, like, what does that leave Kate? Like, I know they're still going to have, they still have this whole story to tell, but, like, what does that leave her? Like, you just created contradictions in the larger the larger shared universe mythology, because Kate is supposed to be Batwoman. She is the paragon of, I forget, Hope? Yeah, Paragon of Hope. So she is supposed to be anchored by to be Batwoman. Of course, obviously, you'll say, well, Ryan Choi was in Crisis, and he wasn't really a superhero at the time, so Kate could do the same thing. Like, I get that, yeah, but you already have her in the suit. She's still badass. I have no idea how they're going to explore her in this new way in the second half of season 2, but I'm just saying, like, I'm thinking like a reasonable person. Like, it just doesn't really make sense in the long run. No offense to anyone included. I'm just saying, like, you could have just done the recast at the start, saved all the extra writing, just gone there. I mean, I'm just thinking, like, as a studio that, like, has to be really considerate on, like, the budgets, like, it could have just been easier to done that. And then in other cases, like, and even as a kid, I always, like, got questioned and confused by the whole terminology with recasting, because my first earlier case of recasting was in Harry Potter. When I was a kid, I always, like, wonder, like, oh my god, Dumbledore lost a lot of weight between 2 and 3. I didn't know at the time there were 2 different actors until, like, I think when I got a little bit older, it's like, oh no, these are 2 separate actors, because the original one, Richard Harris, passed away after the production chamber was finished, and then they had to recast because they couldn't obviously omit Dumbledore because he's going to be such a huge part of the story. So I didn't know that at the time, and that makes sense. Like, okay, honestly, I preferred Michael Gambit's approach to Dumbledore. I think he was much more of a badass, and he had a much more, a little bit of a light, darker spin on the character than, like, Richard did. And I would have been very curious to see how Michael Gambit would have done the first two movies. I know Dumbledore wasn't really prevalent in those movies, but I would have been very curious to see how he would have, like, tackled that on. But that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense in sort of stuff. But, and then later on, I think the next big piece, I didn't even talk about this with anyone at the time because no one I knew watched the show. If anyone remembers this show, Pair of Kings, it wasn't really much of a recasting, but it was kind of like a written off role because when that show happened, season 3, okay, I know this is not entirely recasting, but it's like replacing, but it's almost the same thing. Plus, I never am going to talk about this thing again, so I'm like, why not? I'm just going to tack it on here. When it comes to the Pair of Kings, if anyone remembers that show, it was about Mitchell Musso and Doc Shaw. Their characters were brothers of this very small tropical island that their parents used to rule back in the day before they passed away. Then before season 3 began production, the actor Mitchell Musso had a kind of like a too adult incident that Disney could not rule off, and they had to write him off. Because they could not continue having the face of their show be with someone that, he was drunk driving and now he's going to still be on the show. No, they got rid of him. And how they wrote him off was just such the stupidest way possible. And it's like, I still vaguely remember, like, it was just someone that looked like Mitchell Musso from a high, long-ass hair, but he was like acting like a monkey, like just like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Like, again, I haven't seen the show in forever. I know it's on Disney Plus, but I haven't seen the show in forever. This is just what's in my head. So apologies for the poor rendition, but I still remember that, like, that's a really poor way to go. Like, I and then they just added in a third brother, like they were triplets the whole time. I'm like, oh, come on. No. And no wonder that show got canceled. It got canceled the next season because it just didn't work after that. It just didn't. But I don't know, man. That was a long time ago. Maybe I'll do Pair of Kings on What's in the Tube someday. Probably. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. But I think the next biggest piece of recasting, and it's also on the CW, was on Superman Lois. I think they recast Morgan Edge's character to a new actor, and that makes sense because, like, Crisis kind of reset things, so that could have been another Morgan Edge from another Earth, and then they brought him in. Maybe not entirely the same history as the one for Supergirl, but things like this happen. Like, recasting is just such a big thing that, like, it's just so delicate to do. Like, so, and I would be reminisced if I don't talk about the Hulk incident with the MCU, where Edward Norton was the Hulk for the Incredible Hulk, and then he left because of disagreements, and then Mark Ruffalo took over the role, and then that worked out the best. Same with Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle. Sometimes it just works out for the best, because as much as I respect Edward Norton and Terrence Howard, I do think Mark Ruffalo and Don Cheadle embody the roles they took over much better than their predecessors would. And again, I know they had way more installments to perform in. I know they kind of had a little bit more development, but be it as it may, I still very much, prefer these replacements. And sometimes that's the thing. Like, sometimes it works out in the long run. Sometimes it does. But then when you're living in the moment, it's like, this is too different. Like, it takes a bit to, like, adjust the viewpoint a little bit. It does. If anyone remembers this, in Riverdale, the character of Reggie was played by Charles Melton. Wait, no. No, Charles Melton is the current actor. Oh, damn, I forgot the original guy's name. He's the guy who eventually he signed over from one high school show on CW to another high school show on Netflix. So that was kind of funny. But then I prefer the new actor over the old one. Like, don't get me wrong, I love both actors are great. I think they're both great actors, but I just prefer the new one better. Because I don't know why, he just embodies more of a cocky Reggie Moore, and that ends my Riverdale talk. But no, when it comes to recast, it's just very tricky, and I feel like everyone needs to be very selective on what they say, because when you come to recasting, like, yeah, you're still kind of have to acknowledge and honor whatever the other actor or actress did prior. You have to acknowledge that. You can't just write it off. because the moment you say something wrong, fans are going to not forget. Like for Batwoman in my case. I'm never going to let them go on when they said that. I'm never going to let them go. But again, hopefully it has a positive outcome and we get a stronger show because of it, or a stronger movie. Again, everything is different with recasting. I'm just starting to watch too many shows and movies now. Like, I'm starting to become aware of more actors. So whenever they do cast a replacement, I'm always very hopeful that, like, okay, it's for hopefully a good reason. Hopefully. But that's just my saying done. I think that's gonna do it for me because I don't know why I can't speak. Like I haven't drank that much water today, and I'm actually a little parched, and I don't have any tea or water sources next to me, so I'm gonna probably end it off here. So if you're unaware, this has been Let Joe Talk from ActionX. If you want to see more of Let Joe Talk, please subscribe to ActionX on YouTube.com. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode is live, which is usually each and every Wednesday afternoon. Like, favorite, share this episode if you want to, but it does help us out, get us out to other people who have yet to discover us, as well as it's free to share. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Twitch. Let me know in the comments below what are your thoughts on recasting in anything, in movies, TV shows. Let me know. I'm always down for conversation down below. But until next time, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.